Hello everyone, I'm Alex Dykes, and today we're taking a look at the 2015 Kia K900. This is a Graco Classic Ride 50 convertible child seat, suitable for children between 4 and 50 pounds. And we're going to see how well 1, 2, and 3 of them fit inside this car. Before we dive right on the inside, let's talk about the size of the K900. The K900 is about the same size as the Lexus LS 460. And that means that even though this is about the same price as a Mercedes-Benz E-Class or a BMW 5 Series, it's actually sized about the same size as the next level up. It is a little bit smaller than a Mercedes-Benz S-Class, but it's about the same size as a BMW 7 Series. If you're comparing this vehicle, the next category down, this is larger than a Hyundai Genesis and larger than a Chrysler 300 as well, and most of that difference is right back here in the rear seats, which is what is very important when you're taking a look at installing child seats, especially rearward-facing child seats. Now, because the K900 is such a large car, it is important that we start out our look right here in the front seat. And that's because the K900 has more combined legroom, and that's front legroom and rear legroom, than something like a Lexus LS 460. And when you're taking a look at rear legroom especially, that's important because this front seat moved all the way back. My feet aren't really on the floorboards. So moving this seat forward till my feet are flat on the floorboards, I'm now sitting right about here. If I was going to move this seat forward to maximize the rearward compartment right there, I have about 1.5 inches of legroom right here between my knees and the dashboard, which is about as close as I would really want to get. Now, I generally like a more upright seating position than some people, but this front seat is still adjusted comfortably for a 3 or 4 hour car trip. This is a very comfortable front seat. With one rearward-facing child seat in the back of the K900, you can very easily see how big this vehicle really is. This child seat is about 4 inches or so away from this front passenger seat, and that means I can not only fit a rearward child seat right back here behind the passenger seat, but I can also very easily and very comfortably fit one right behind the driver. Now, this is a prime reason why I would recommend the K900 to any young family that's looking for a luxury vehicle, especially if you're looking for something along the lines of a Mercedes-Benz E-Class or a BMW 5 Series and you're worried about sticking children on the inside. Because this Kia ranges from $60,000 to $66,000 approximately, this is solidly in the range of someone that's shopping for a Acura RLX, a Cadillac XTS, BMW 5 Series, Mercedes-Benz E-Class, etc. But you're going to get considerably more room back here, and that means that you're going to be a lot safer in this rearward-facing child seat configuration, especially if you have taller drivers up front. You can very easily fit a 6-foot or even a 6'4" person up front and still fit a child seat safely in the back. Now, that 6'4" person isn't going to be quite as comfortable as if this front seat was a little further back in the tracks, but most importantly, that person will fit safely up front, and you can safely put a rearward-facing child seat in the back behind them. Speaking of taller people in the K900, when I move this seat over to the driver's side, this front seat is again adjusted for me at 6 feet tall. You can see I have a little bit less room between this child seat and the driver's seat. The driver's seat is very comfortably arranged for me, but you may notice that a taller driver may not have enough room to put a child seat right behind it. And that's just because of the shape of the dashboard and the footwells up front. You get a little bit more room right over there on the passenger side. Because the K900 has rear passenger luxury accommodations in mind in terms of design, you'll notice this front passenger seat moves all the way forward till it's practically touching the dashboard. That allows the driver to actually see the side view mirror while the rear passenger has the most amount of rear legroom. Thanks to the generous dimensions of the K900, you can see I can very easily sit back here with 2 child seats in the back. Again, this front seat is adjusted for me, and you can see I have about 6 inches of legroom. That really should give you an idea of how big this sedan is. One thing to keep in mind with forward-facing child seats is that these rear seat backs are fairly reclined, especially this center seat back. It's really obvious right here because the bottom of this child seat is right on the bottom cushion, but if I want to push the back towards the back, it actually tends to recline a little bit. This could be a problem. You may want to consult a certified child seat installer or inspector to make sure that you're in the proper safe zone for a forward-facing child seat, especially once you have that top tether anchor installed. Now, the concern for having a child seat reclined a little bit too much is that the child may submarine under their child safety belts. That's why we have the 5-point harness to help keep that from happening, but it is still a little bit of a concern. Now, a child safety inspector that I consulted with suggested rolling up a towel and placing it behind the child seat right up here up top, and then tightening the top tether anchor as tight as possible to nestle the seat right back here in the seat, and that would help keep the child seat in the proper upright position. Now, when it comes to top tether locations, the top tethers on these Graco Classic Ride 50 child seats are quite long. You can see right here the distance between the top tether anchorage location and the end of this buckle arrangement is quite long, but right here in the Kia K900, that's not a problem. The top tether anchor is far enough away from the child seat that I had no problem tightening it. As you'd expect from a car this large, when it comes to the 3-across child seat test, it is again no problem in the Kia K900. In fact, I do have about 3 inches of room right here between the top of the child seat and the door, and a similar amount of room between the child seat and the armrest right here on the door. That means I could very easily install 3 larger child seats in this. The Graco Classic Ride is approximately in the middle in terms of overall size when you compare it to the other child seats out there on the market. You can find narrower child seats if your vehicle is a little bit tight. You can also find wider child seats with cup holders and that sort of thing. Now, if you only plan on installing 1 child seat in the K900, keep in mind in the center position that you cannot use the latch anchors. Now, some vehicles do allow you to use the outboard latch anchors for a center child seat position if the owner's manual of the vehicle says you can, and if the instruction manual for your child seat also agrees that it may be used in the center position with the outboard latch anchors. Unfortunately, the K900's owner's manual specifically says you cannot use the latch anchors for a center seat position, so do keep that in mind if you're planning on putting a child seat right here in the center position. When it comes to accommodating child seats in the back, the overall size of the K900 makes it score incredibly well. Again, this is the size of a full-size luxury sedan, something along the lines of a Lexus LS. It is a little bit smaller than a Mercedes-Benz S-Class, about the same size as a 7 Series. The Audi A8 is relatively similarly sized, as well as the short wheelbase Jaguar XJ. The K900 is quite a large vehicle, but its price tag also makes this compete with the likes of the BMW 5 Series, the Mercedes-Benz E-Class, the Jaguar XF, etc. You can also compare this with the near luxury entries along the lines of the Cadillac XTS. We also have the Lincoln MKS, the Volvo S80, and the Acura RLX. Now, compared to the mid-size luxury sedans or those near luxury competitors, you're going to find an awful lot more room right back here in the back seats, especially if you're planning on putting rearward-facing child seats in the vehicle. If you're a budding family and you're considering a BMW 5 Series or Mercedes-Benz E-Class, the K900 is going to be an awful lot more accommodating for your growing family, both right back here in the back seat and in this very large trunk right back here. We have a power trunk lid on our particular K900. Right here I have a 24-inch roller bag and a 26-inch roller bag. They fit in here very easily. The opening to this trunk is large and wide. I can even insert a 26-inch roller bag that way in the trunk quite easily. But I'm going to pull them out here, and then we're going to see how well 3 child seats fit in the back. The first thing we notice when trying to insert this first child seat is that the child seat can go in the trunk sideways because of this large trunk opening. It makes it a lot easier to insert child seats in the back. As I insert this third child seat, I'll also note that the child seat can go all the way to the back of the trunk. Now, we don't have folding rear seat backs in the K900, so it does restrict a little bit of cargo practicality, but this trunk is very similarly sized front to back, which means it's very easy to insert these right there. And that also means I can very easily add some extra luggage. 26-inch roller bag and 24-inch roller bag easily fit right back here. You can also fit some extra hand luggage around the side of those child seats. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. Again, I'm Alex Dykes, and this has been the 2015 Kia K900. If you want to know more about the K900, there is a complete review about this vehicle on my channel. I encourage you to go ahead and click that subscribe banner at the bottom of your screen so you can be updated on all of my latest videos. You can also find me over at facebook.com/AlexOnAutos, Twitter as Alex on Autos. You can also email your questions to alex@alexonautos.com. I'll see you next week.